Dear viewers, thank you for staying with us. On the other hand, if you have joined us, a very big welcome. Tonight, we are talking about universal credit, how that came about, what impact universal credit is having on our community. We have a panel of experts in our studio who have been working with the local community since universal credit came into effect. I don't know if you know for a fact, but it cost the government £15.8 billion trying to fix the faults associated with universal credit, whilst there's been a 52% increase in people using food bank just to merely survive. This is reality, ladies and gentlemen, and we all need to be united to challenge this and to ensure that whatever benefit system the government introduces, it is one that is fair and it is one that does not create austerity in our society. Before we went on break, we were talking to Griffin Grey, and I was asking Griffin Grey that surely people that are less educated wouldn't know the kind of changes to report to the authority, and if that is the case, what is the sanctions that they're expected to face?
Well, sanctions are many depending upon individual circumstances, but of course in the end we are dealing with financial sanctions. So if we're talking about sanctions, you may lose your money. If you were, it all depends on the criteria really. So first thing is first, you need to ask yourself what is the DWP worker is asking you to do. If you don't go for an interview for looking for a job or something, they will say, okay, we will reduce your fund. If you don't, let's say, commit to the work commitment program that you're part of, they will sanction you anyway. So really, there is no one size fits all, but ultimately the most drastic thing could happen is that you will lose all of your benefit. And that is it really. If there is no money, what else can you do? So you're left in destitution. So that's why instead of just saying, let's do nothing, here's our chance to be proactive and try to do something that is positive for the community.
Thank you very much. I shall come back to you later. Let's go to Sanumia, who's been sitting there very patiently. Sanubai, how has the universal credit impacted the Bangladeshi community living in Tower Hamlets and beyond?
Thank you very much. It's a nice question to ask. But if you don't mind, if I can answer it Bengali.
Yeah, of course you can.
Because most of the viewers are Bengalis.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Universal credit যে সময় ইন্ট্রোডিউস করা হয়েছে পয়লা কথা হইল কি ফার্স্ট জিনিস যেটা হইল কি একটা জিনিস চেঞ্জ হইলে আপনারা দেখছেন যে এই দেশের সিস্টেম আছে কনসালটেশন করা হয় যে এগুলো কিলান এফেক্ট আইব কমিউনিটিত বা এটা মানুষের কিলান এফেক্ট হইব বাট এটা করা হয়েছে না এক সেকেন্ড জিনিস যেটা হয়েছে মানুষরে এডুকেট করা হয়েছে না মানুষরে জানছে না যে এটা কিতা করতো তারা ফর এক্সাম্পল মনে করো আমি যদি একটা বেনিফিটের লাগি অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করি এই বেনিফিট আমারে দেওয়া হইব কি না হইব এইটা আমি আগে করলে ফাইলিছি রিটেন লেটার দেওয়া হয়েছে বা ওয়ার্কআউট কিলানোর অন পেপার দেওয়া হইতো এখন করি সিস্টেমটা নাই টোটালি ইউনিভার্সাল ক্রেডিট আপনি করেন যে কোনো মানুষের করুকা এটা অটোমেটিকলি আপনি অনলাইন করতে হইবা দ্যাটস ওয়ান থিং এটা এফেক্ট করে লস অফ পিপল ফর এক্সাম্পল মনে করুকা আমি কম্পিউটার জানি বাট আই এম নট গুড এট ইট আই এম নট এক্সপিরিয়েন্স এত এক্সপিরিয়েন্স নাই সো দ্যাটস ওয়ান অফ দ্য ইস্যু এর লাগি যে সাধারণ পাবলিক যারা আছেন তারা এডুকেট করার দরকার আছে সেকেন্ড জিনিস হইল আপনি অনলাইন যে সময় করবা মোস্ট এক্সপিরিয়েন্স পিপল ক্যান মেক এ মিস্টেক
অ্যাবসলিউটলি
বাট আমরা সরি মাফ করবো আমরা বাপ দাদা যারা আছেন
জি
এরা তো অনেক কম্পিউটার ইউজ করতে পারে
দ্যাটস হোয়াট আই ওয়াজ কামিং টু সো এর লাগি হইছে কিটা যে মোস্ট অফ দ্য পিপল আমরা কমিউনিটির তারা এফেক্ট হয়েছে আর এফেক্ট হওয়ার মানে হইল কি আপনি মনে করো একটা ফ্যামিলি ডেইলি লাইফে এফেক্ট করছে একটু আগে সুজি যেটা মেনশন করছেন দ্যাট মেন্টাল হেলথ বিকজ আপনার পকেটে যদি পয়সা থাকে না তা আপনার মেন্টালি এফেক্ট করবো আপনার ফ্যামিলির আপনার ছেলে আপনার এই পয়সা খুঁজে যদি আপনার এফেক্ট করবো আপনি রাগ করবা সো your anger gonna go up. So এর লাগি যেটা হইছে আমরা কমিউনিটির ইগো হিউজ এফেক্ট হইছে অনেক মানুষের ঘর বাড়িও যাওয়ার পথে আছে আমি যতটুকু জানি আমি কিছু মানুষের হেল্প করছি আমরা একটা অর্গানাইজেশন আছে আমরা যতক্ষণ পারছি হেল্প করছি কিছু কাউন্সিলর হলে হেল্প করছেন লোকাল পলিটিশিয়ান হলে হেল্প করছেন সো ইয়েস ই ওয়াজ এ ইউনাইটেড এফার্ট দিয়া হেল্প করা হয়েছে কিন্তু ইটস নট এনাফ এগুলো এনাফ আছিল না কমিউনিটিতে আরও করার দরকার আছে এখনও আরও দরকার আছে অনেক মানুষ আছে বেনিফিটও কিন্তু তারা জানেন না কীরকম ক্লেম করা তারা বেনিফিট ক্লেম করছে তারা চিঠি পাইছে যে তোমার বেনিফিট কাট হয়ে গেছে শেষ তুমি বেনিফিট পাইতে না বিকজ ইউ আর নট এন্টাইটেল টু ইট সো এখন
এবং এটা 9 সপ্তাহ বাদে তারা খবর
9 সপ্তাহ পরে খবর এবং এই 9 সপ্তাহ তার তো বেনিফিট পাইছে না
তো তারা খাইতো কিলা বাস্তু কিলা রেন্ট দিতো কিলা
এক্স্যাক্টলি সো আমরার কমিউনিটি যেটা আছে হয়তো সাপোর্ট পাইরা সুজি যেটা কাউন্সিলর মেনশন করছেন যেটা যে আপনি ধরোগা কিছু মানুষের আছে ফুড ব্যাংকও গেছে কিছু মানুষ আছে চ্যারিটি হেল্প নিছে বাট লাইফ তো ইলান চলে না আপনি একজন রেসিডেন্ট অফ
যারা বাচ্চা কাচ্চা আছেন
জি
তারা বাচ্চা না তো স্কুলে হইতে পারেন না কিবা
অফ কোর্স স্কুলে দিতে পারবো তারা
ডিনার মনি ফান্ড
আপনি মনে করো
কত ধরনের এফেক্ট
এরার এফেক্ট হইব এডুকেশন এফেক্ট হইব বিকজ আপনার ঘরে বুক আছে আপনি সব সময় মাথায় কাম করেন না আপনার বাচ্চারে আপনি পড়াইবা গেলেন
Thank you, Sonu bhai. I shall come back to you. Obviously, the list is very long, and it doesn't just stop there because the universal credit will have a lasting impact on the vulnerable section of our community, and the list will go on. Coming back to this mental health issue, obviously, as we know, the statistics suggests that 1 in 4 person have a mental health issue. On top of this, when we have poverty to this degree, this is going to hit the roof. Susie, what other impact is this likely to have?
I think, look, we already know that since the Conservatives have come in, we have seen a massive hit on mental health services, massive cuts across the country, massive cuts in Tower Hamlets. And this is not about our local authority. Our local authority are trying to do their best in very difficult circumstances. But we know that if you are someone that is struggling with a mental health issue, as has been said, whether it is depression, anxiety, not only is it going to rocket when you start getting bills through that you can't pay, when you're having to budget in a way that you didn't have to budget before because the universal credit system just makes things way more complicated, when you're not necessarily computer literate and you're having to access this portal. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I had to apply, when I was pregnant, I had to apply for maternity pay on this online thing. And I'm going to be honest, I got angry and anxious and stressed, and I am computer literate, but it was complicated and it was like logging off and whatnot. And actually there was a phone number to call. What we know with universal credit is there isn't this face-to-face contact. You can't just go down the job centre and speak to someone. There isn't, there isn't that access for people that aren't computer literate. But the wider ramifications are that, for me, an area like Tower Hamlets, look, this is the home of Dizzy Rascal. Okay, this is the home of, great footballers have come out of this place. And I just think, this is the home of so much greatness. And when you begin to put strain and pressure on people's lives, they can't flourish. They can't be who they're supposed to be. And I just think, as a country, don't we want people to flourish? Don't we want our young people to flourish? Don't we want, doesn't matter what your age or your background, people to flourish? And I just think universal credit is is just another one of those policies that have come from this government. We're not being political, we're just stating facts that is crushing people. And, you know, I don't know about you, but for me, I want to live in a country where people can flourish, where people can do their best, where people can reach their potential.
I mean, in terms of the actual impact we have another caller. Let's just take the call. Okay. Hello, caller, good evening.
Hello.
Hello, caller, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I just want to ask something, who is eligible to get medical exemption, if anybody is in, universal credit, who will get medical exemption. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Thank you. I think medical exemption for people.
Yeah, so it really depends on why you're claiming universal credit. If you're claiming universal credit due to limited capability to work, then obviously you have to go for a medical assessment. The only way you can avoid going for a medical assessment.
Tell me something. Really, I have come across officers assessing people and telling them that they are fit to return to work when the reality is they are not fit to return to work. Clearly, the claimant is not in a position to challenge the decision of the medical advisor, and it's forcing people back into work.
I agree. In fact, 65% of those who appeal against the decision of the DWP end up being successful as a result. So there is a due process that you have to follow. And one of them is when the decision maker decides that you are fit for work, what you do then is appeal against the decision through a mandatory reconsideration process. So there is a due process you have to follow. In the meantime, you can still carry on getting universal credit if you are already on universal credit due to a limited capability for work. And of course, it does involve you going for an assessment, by the way. And if you lost the assessment, then you have to think about, you're capable of working and getting universal credit due to your capability to work, but you're still on universal credit. But your question is, can you avoid being medically assessed? If you're claiming ESA or universal credit due to limited capability for work, you can't unless you are too ill to go for assessment, i.e., are you on the verge of dying within 6 months? There we are.
Right. Thank you very much for clarifying that, Griffin Grey. Very useful, and I hope our caller got the answer that they wanted. Before I come to you again, Griffin Grey, I'd like to go to Councillor Dora Dixon File. She's been sitting here very quietly listening to it all. As a councillor, democratically elected councillor in a borough where universal credit was one of the first borough to be rolled out to. Can you share any horrifying stories as a result of universal credit coming into effect and how that has impacted your community?
Well, yes, Doris.
Or the people that you represent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't share with you any good stories.
Right. No,
so
I didn't expect you to.
All my stories are going to be horrendous. I mean, I've been a councillor for 21 years now, and since this came in 2013, it's been absolutely horrible what's been happening to people that I know and have, represented for over 2 decades now. So it's affected badly people with disabilities, people with mental health issues, older people, people who've got illnesses.
The crime rate must have gone sky high.
People who've got illnesses that cannot get better, put it that way. So, I mean, one story I can talk to you about is, it's not a story, it's actually happened, and I dealt with it. It's a lady who was a victim of domestic violence. And I know domestic violence affects men, women, everybody, but this particular case I'm talking about is a woman who was a victim, a survivor of domestic violence. And of course now, under this new system, payments are made to a household. So whether it's the housing benefits and
Yeah.
the money for the children,
Yes.
it's all paid in a lump sum, as we said, monthly usually.
Is that to the
arrears.
breadwinner of the family?
Well, to the household.
So what does that
And
mean?
it's-
The husband or the wife or both? Or?
It's the person who says, I'm going
Who
to
claims.
claim this.
Right, okay.
And usually
It's a husband.
it
Yeah.
is the male
Yeah.
partner
Yes.
Yeah.
in that relationship. And this lady actually made the brave decision to actually leave her partner
Yeah.
and to move with the 2 children to a different borough, a neighbouring borough. And so we thought, that's fine, that's great. We can get the money you paid that deserves to go to her, and the male partner can have his one. No, because the male partner kept saying, oh, she hasn't really left me, she's still living with me. So the DWP would not change the
Oh,
amount.
no.
So for about, I think, 2, maybe 3 months, the male partner was still receiving the
Yeah.
main
So how
money
did the lady survive with the 2 kids?
with help from people like myself as a counsellor, food banks, the school that her children were going to,
Yeah.
had a whip round to give second-hand clothing, uniform. It was absolutely horrible because the male partner completely knew that the woman had left him, but he just kept saying no.
Do you know whether she came back to him?
No, she never went back to him at all. She never went back to him at all.
Okay.
It was a brave decision she made. So domestic violence, and we're going to talk about how we can sort of change things in the future.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we should be doing is saying to people who actually are on the front line of administrating this, banks as well, to
Yeah.
say, for goodness sakes, be watching out for financial abuse
Yeah.
or domestic abuse. Watch out for the signals, for the
Yeah.
signs, because, for example,
Of
when
course,
you
all of this has an impact on the way people conduct themselves, isn't it?
Absolutely, and if you go for an interview as a couple, maybe you should be separating them.
Yeah.
Because the victim will not be able to sort of say, hang on, he just takes all the money and goes down the
bookies,
betting
yeah.
shop.
Yes, yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we should be looking at and being prepared to actually put right some of these wrongs.
Absolutely. By default, yes, it's the household member, the leading household member gets it. But if there are exceptions, general rule, you can request it, but it actually happens later when something goes wrong, and then it's too late already.
Exactly.
Has the crime rate gone up? Does anyone know this? Has the crime rate gone up since the universal
Even
credit came into
fraud.
effect? Sorry?
Even the fraud.
Yes,
I think it's
it's on the increase, is it?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think you're also talking
You
about, you're also saying because it's maybe pushed people into greater levels of poverty.
Yes,
is that what you
absolutely.
mean? Yeah, I mean,
Look, when people's back is pushed against a wall,
Yeah.
if they are starving,
yeah.
they won't think twice to break the law just to feed themselves.
Yeah.
People will do anything.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, the report published by Peabody Trust, one of the biggest housing associations in the country, I mean, it's stating that what's happening now is that, here we are the figures, once Universal kicked in, people are in rent arrears. I mean, although I know we mentioned about 6 weeks wait, but actually, although there's been a change from 6 weeks to 5 weeks wait, we're still seeing a rise in rent arrears.
Has there been an increase in the rate of eviction then?
Yes,
I mean, obviously
a
with
very
rent
good
arrears.
question, in fact. I've written an article around housing possessions and homelessness precisely for that reason. What's interesting is that if you look at the Ministry of Justice's data, you will see now more eviction processes carried by social landlord than private landlord. And of course, private landlord, as you said, Susie, is that private landlords are saying we're not taking tenants because they're benefit claim, forget them. But social landlords have to address those tenants, and social landlords are bringing more cases and taking those cases to court for possession for not paying rent.
And so people like myself as a counsellor have
Yeah.
to challenge those social
Absolutely.
landlords.
I mean,
those social landlords.
Correct me if I'm wrong. If you are a local authority tenant, you are considered to be a secured tenant.
Absolutely.
Therefore, for any rent arrears and stuff like that, although a landlord can take you to court, but it's a long process before they
Yeah.
can get there.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you are a social landlord, a housing association landlord, you are considered to be an assured tenant.
No, not necessarily.
No.
If you're a council tenant, you can still be taken to court
Yeah,
if you don't pay your rent.
Yeah, but it's
what
a
I'm
long process, isn't it?
Well, it's not about long and short.
Well,
it's about when you get the court date. The
Yeah.
thing I was saying
Right.
is that as a councillor, I'm having to jump quickly on
Right.
the backs of housing officers for local authority
Right.
and also housing officers for social landlords like the people
Yes.
do, because
Okay.
they go through a tick box.
Absolutely.
If you owe 3 weeks rent, one letter,
Exactly,
4
yes.
weeks let, da-da-da,
2 letter,
next one
yeah.
go to court date.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to say to them, look, hang on, do you understand what universal credit means?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
means people are paid in arrears.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
say that to them, oh yes, okay. But you know, if no one can step in to challenge,
Absolutely.
they can get
yeah.
evicted.
And the
Yeah.
majority of our community people, perhaps, who are not literate, the vulnerable
Exactly.
section,
Yeah.
Or
who don't know
articulate.
what is right and what is wrong. And how to challenge
Absolutely.
them.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, when
Okay, we need to go on a short break.
Okay.
we'll
Sure,
continue
sure.
after the break. Dear viewers, please don't go anywhere. We're going to go on a short break. We'll be back very soon.